Dear students, welcome to BSc Honours Forensic Science, Forensic Toxicology course BBS08T2111 offered for semester 3 students in the Division of Forensic Science, Department of Biosciences, School of Basic and Applied Sciences, Galgodias University, Greater Noida. My name is Dr. Raisha Jasmine Nathan, and today I will be talking about the history of toxicology. The prerequisites for this course are basic understanding of analytical chemistry and of course forensic science, which you must have already studied in your first 2 semesters. The objectives of this course are to help you understand where this field of toxicology has come from, the science of toxicology that we use in modern forensic investigations. What is the importance of it? For introduction, Winston Churchill once said that the further backward you look, the further forward you can see. Well, those who do not learn from the past made mistakes of other people are bound to do them again. Now, with this background, let us discuss what happened in the various eras of toxicology. Now, the history of toxicology is both colorful and diabolical, meaning it's extremely interesting. As soon as we hear the term poison, lots of stories and images of conspiracies, people killing each other for revenge, slaves who were poisoned as experimental animals, and rulers who were crazy enough to perform their toxicology skills on other people. Well, the first encounter with a poison probably dates back to the time when plant poisons or plant juices were smeared on the tips of arrows that were used to kill animals. This discovery was a big revolution in the history of toxicology, where man realized that just by adding some chemical to the arrows, which would have killed the animal anyway, the process of reaching death can be attained faster. Now, talking about ancient Rome, one of the most famous persons in the field of toxicology was a Persian queen called Parysatis. Now, she lived in the year 400 BC, or rather in the era in ancient Rome, and she famously, or infamously rather, killed her own daughter-in-law by poisoning the knife blade which she used for eating her meat for her dinner. Now, because this was one of the earliest incidents in toxicology, she became famous. Following her, there were other emperors and queens who used similar methods to kill people they wanted to, and among them, Locusta is another mastermind in the art of poisoning. So famous were her skills that in fact she was commissioned by Roman Emperor Nero's mother Agrippina to poison her own husband, Emperor Claudius, in the Common Era 54. In fact, her skill was so deeply appreciated that she received royal patronage and was appointed the state poisoner. You heard that right. She was commissioned as the state poisoner so that the emperors, when they wanted to use her skills to kill other people, they would call her up. She would prepare some formulation, hand over the poison to them, and she was heavily paid for it. In fact, it is known that she used human slaves as guinea pigs to perform her experiments before coming up with a new formulation that was used on humans. Moving further in time, we come to the medieval period. Now this is also called arsenic poisoning period, where arsenic was the most popular poison that was used for killing people in homicides. During this period, Italy was at the forefront, but not far behind were other countries such as Spain and France. Now, arsenic became so popular that every second person started using it for killing people, for revenge, and for other reasons. A person called Albertus Magnus is in fact given the credit for the discovery of this poison around the 1250 BCE, but its use became popular only in the medieval period. Certain properties of this poison, such as it being colorless, tasteless, and odorless, made it an ideal choice as a homicidal poison, because of course if it was put in the food of the victim, it was not discovered. Now, in this medieval period, there was a person called Paracelsus who lived between 1493 and 1541, and he was a pioneer in several aspects of medical revolution in the Renaissance period. Now, this Swiss German physician gave a very popular statement that is even used in today's toxicology, that the dose makes the poison. Yes, dear students, anything and everything can be a poison. It depends on how much dose is administered to a person, and of course there are other contributing factors that will determine the lethality of that poison to a person. Now, entering the modern era, we have two very famous people, James Marsh, who lived from 1794 to 1846, and Matthew Joseph Orfila, who lived from 1787 to 1853. Now, Marsh and Orfila are famous for their respective contributions to the field of toxicology. Marsh, who designed the Marsh test in 1836, became famous because this was the first test that could detect arsenic easily in a sample. On the other hand, Orfila, who is also called the father of modern toxicology, used this test 4 years later after its invention and won a conviction in court where the accused was given sentence for life for using this poison called arsenic on a victim. Now moving to the modern era that we are living in today. Now in the past 150 years, we have seen great progress when it comes to poisons or the study of poisons. With the present modern techniques and instrumentation, we can now detect poisons that are present even in the most minute traces in different non-biological and biological samples. Now, biological samples are categorized into two categories. The first is post-mortem samples, also called viscera, which comprise of the internal organs of a person. Post-mortem, that is post-death, the internal organs of a person are removed by autopsy, that is performed by a forensic medicine doctor, and the investigation of natural deaths, unnatural deaths, are permitted in the section 174 of the CRPC of the Indian law. Those viscera samples are then forwarded to the forensic toxicologist, who analyzes them in the laboratory and reports the presence or absence of a particular compound, chemical compound under investigation. The manner of death and the cause of death are then determined from reports from the forensic medicine and forensic toxicology person. Now, if the person survives following a suicidal or homicidal or accidental exposure, then other samples are collected, such as blood, urine, hair, sweat, nails, etc. Such samples are sent for toxicological analysis, and modern instruments and techniques are used to analyze and quantify the presence of these compounds called toxins or poisons in the samples of the victim. Now we come to an end of this short presentation. The idea was to give you just a glimpse of what toxicology entails and where it has come from. For your practice, write down the history of toxicology in your own words and elaborate on the importance of this science in forensic investigations that are happening in today's times. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. These are some of the references that I have taken. You can of course study more books and more journal articles that are available online. Thank you so much for joining in today. Hope to see you in the next class. Bye-bye.